A registration event allows you to register both members and guests to an event. If you have Clubhouse Online, you can integrate registration events with the online calendar, allowing members to register for events directly from the club's website. To create a registration event, navigate to the Event Management module and select the Event Management or Event List view. From here, you can either double-click on the calendar or click Create New Event. First, we can go ahead and give our event a name. Setting the event type group is optional, whereas the event type is not optional. You must select an event type which is registration required in order to accept registrations for this event. You will know this is a registration event based on the general parameters on the screen like you see here. We also want to make sure we define the start date, time, and end date and time. So because this is a brunch, let's go ahead and start this at 9 a.m. Let's say we end at noon. Let's take a look at the settings in the General Parameters tab. Here you can specify if the event requires a minimum and/or maximum number of attendees, if there is a minimum and/or maximum number of registrants allowed per booking, if the event is restricted to members only, or if this event is male or female only, and if you would like to enable a waitlist, meaning once the event hits the max number of attendees, registrants can be registered for the waitlist. If you do enable this option, you can set a cap on that waitlist. Decide if there will be a minimum or maximum age restriction. For example, maybe this is a wine and cheese event and no one under a certain age can attend. Here you can check mark Apply Age Restrictions and set your ages accordingly. Identify member and guest registrants. If enabled, this requires a name for each registrant. Allow guest name only. If enabled, you only have to enter a name for the guest. Otherwise, it will force you to select a guest from the guest database, or you have to create a guest profile on the fly. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can set your start, date and time, and end date and time of the registration window. If you have integrated event management with the online event calendar in Clubhouse Online, you can use the Web tab to specify the online registration window, which can be different than the in-house registration window. So for example, we can open up the registration today, and maybe we want to close that registration, let's say the day before at 12 a.m. Then you have your cancellation and billing section. The cancellation date indicates when cancellations can be made up until. So for example, maybe we'll allow cancellations up until the day before at 12 a.m. Then you can specify a cancellation policy, which allows you to select a pre-created cancellation policy. Example 48-hour cancellation policy, where the registrant will be charged a specific amount or a certain percentage of the registration fee. If auto charge / bill canceled reservations is checked, cancellation fees will automatically be charged to registrants who cancel during the specified cancellation policy. Auto assign pricing based on age. If enabled, a pricing code will automatically be applied to a member based on their age. Note that it is only recommended to use this option if you know your member birthdays are up to date and accurate. If applicable to this event, you can enable Allow Early Bird Pricing and specify the up to days before and at what time. The pricing amount will be specified in the Pricing tab. As you go along and create your event, you can go ahead and use the Save button to make sure your changes are saved. Note that you have to save in order to adjust the event layout in the Facilities tab. In the Facilities tab, we can add one or multiple facilities to be used for the event. The most important items to specify for facility include the facility itself, as well as the seating style, both of which are required. If you would like to set up multiple seating times, so we can add the ballroom in here, you will want to specify the start and end times for the seating time. So for example, maybe my first seating time ends at 10, and my next seating time starts at 10. You will also want to specify a minimum number of attendees, if applicable, and also a max number of attendees. You can also add multiple facilities, but only take seating for one of the facilities by unchecking the facility you don't want to take seating for. The seating description will automatically display the facility and start time. However, this can be overridden if desired. This description will display online for members if you are using online registration. You can also specify a setup and teardown time and indicate if the facility should be blocked for the setup and teardown times. Optionally, use the Event Layout button to select the event layout for the facility and make edits as needed. If you have the Dining Reservations module, you can optionally enable Allow Dining Reservations during event facility usage, meaning the club can still take a la carte dining reservations in this/these facilities during the event. You can also optionally add facility notes specific to the facility and facility internal notes, which are used for staff informational purposes. Then you have the Services tab. Typically, you will not add any services to a registration event, but if you do, you typically will not assign any pricing to them. They are mainly used for informational purposes to show on your internal notes. For example, a service you might indicate is the number and type of entrees needed for an event. After you add your service type, you can specify the service item and remove the price for the sales item. Note that members will not get billed for the amount. This is just used for internal purposes. The Pricing tab allows you to specify the pricing for the event. To do so, select your pre-created pricing code and set the price for the member and guest as applicable. If you are using early bird pricing, you can also specify those here. The description override will display on the member statement and in the online registration. Next, select all the seatings/facilities to which this pricing code applies, and click Add. If you need to make an adjustment to a pricing code, select that pricing code, make the changes on the left, then click the Update button. Multiple pricing codes can be added. If there are multiple pricing codes, you can specify a default on the right-hand side of the screen. In the Resources tab, you can add any resources needed for the event. For example, a microphone or a podium, and you'll want to specify the quantity needed. This just ensures that they are not booked for another event, and pricing will typically be marked at 0. In the Checklist tab, you can add any applicable checklist to the event and set the checklist details. The checklist can be printed from this screen. In the Budget tab, you can specify a budget for this event, which is a way to set up the revenue pulled from facility and service charges and expenses entered as manual costs, % of sale cost, or item cost per inventory for the event. In the Other tab, we can specify the salesperson, event coordinator, and assign specific employees to this event. The Open Task button allows you to specify specific tasks for the event, such as setup and teardown, and assign dates and times as well as an employee. The Open Extra Info button displays event extra information pulled from the event type settings, and in the Registrant Extra Info tab, you can add questions to ask registrants. Note that only the text and list options will display online for online registration. You can also add event notes, which will display on forms, and internal event notes, which will display on the screen. Lastly, you just want to confirm the stage of the event. Once you have completed all of the settings, go ahead and click Save and Close. After you've created an event, you can edit that event by selecting the event and clicking the Edit Selected Event button, or double-click on the event and click the Edit Event button.